Every spring, you walk into the garden center, grab the same little seed packets, and hand over another 20, 30, 40 bucks. Arugula, cilantro, dill, kale. Same crops, same money every single year. But there are 11 vegetables that make that whole trip pointless. Let one plant bolt, let it flower, let it drop its seed into the pot, and next season it comes back on its own. No packet, no sowing, no spending. And once it starts, it just keeps coming back year after year. You go from a customer who reviews every spring to a gardener who plants once and never buys that seed again. Here is the whole trick in one sentence, and it works for every plant on this list. A vegetable spends its whole life trying to make seed. We usually cut it down and eat it before it gets the chance. But if you let just one plant finish the job, it hands you next year's crop for free, right into the same pot. Think of it like leaving a little sourdough starter on the counter instead of buying a new loaf. You feed one and it feeds you forever. And containers actually make this easier than a garden bed, because the seed drops into a small space you control, so the volunteers come up right where you can see them instead of scattering across a whole yard. You are not hunting for babies in the mulch. They are sitting there in the pot, waiting for you. Let me walk you through all 11 and how to grow each one in a container so it reseeds itself. Number 1 is arugula, and honestly, this is the one that got me hooked on the whole idea. Arugula is built to bolt. Give it a little heat, a little dry spell, some longer summer days, and a young plant will shoot up a flower stalk almost overnight. Gardeners usually fight that. You are going to use it. Grow arugula in any pot at least 6 inches deep, since it has shallow roots and does not ask for much. Sow it thick in early spring, harvest the outer leaves for salads, and when a plant in the corner starts sending up those little white 4-petal flowers, just leave it alone. Those flowers turn into slim green pods. The pods dry to brown and they crack open and rain seed straight into the soil below. In cooler weather, that seed will sprout on its own, sometimes the same fall. Come spring, you will find a carpet of arugula babies you never planted. Thin them out, eat the extras, and you have peppery greens without ever buying another packet. One plant left to bolt can shed enough seed to replant that whole pot several times over. Which brings us to a plant that behaves almost exactly the same way, only spicier. Number 2 is cilantro, and if you have ever been frustrated by cilantro bolting the second summer hits, I have good news. That bolting is the entire point here. Grow cilantro in a pot at least 10 inches deep, because it puts down a real taproot and containers dry out fast. Keep it watered, snip leaves for your salsa and curry, and when the days stretch out and the plant throws up lacy white flowers, let it ride. Those flowers become round green seeds, and those seeds are coriander, the spice already sitting in your cupboard. Leave them on the plant until they turn tan and dry, then just let the seed heads fall into the pot, or crumble a few in your fingers over the soil. In many climates, cilantro will come up twice a year on its own, once in spring and once in fall. So you get fresh cilantro leaf, free coriander spice, and next season's plants, all from letting one crop finish its life. That is 3 things from one plant, and you did nothing but stop cutting it. Its feathery cousin does the exact same thing. Number 3 is dill, and dill is one of the most reliable self-seeders you will ever grow. Give it a deep pot, at least 12 inches, because dill grows a long taproot and wants room. Sow it right in the container since dill hates being transplanted. You harvest the feathery leaves all summer for fish, pickles, and potatoes. Then about 12 weeks in, the plant sends up those big umbrella-shaped flower heads that turn into flat brown seeds. Leave a couple of those heads standing. When they dry, they shatter and drop dozens of seeds into the pot, and dill volunteers will pop up next spring like clockwork. If you want dill in a specific pot, snip a dry seed head and shake it right where you want it. One planting, and you can have dill returning for years with zero effort on your part. Next up, a leafy green most people never think of as a reseeder at all. Number 4 is kale, and I have to be honest with you here, because kale plays a longer game. Kale is a biennial, which is a fancy way of saying it takes 2 years. In year 1, you grow it for those big blue-green leaves, harvesting the outer ones all season while the center keeps producing. It does not make seed that first year. But if your kale survives the winter, and in a lot of climates it will, year 2 is when the magic happens. That second spring it bolts hard, throwing up a tall flower stalk covered in yellow blooms. Those flowers set seed pods, the pods dry, and the seed drops. So kale asks for patience. But the payoff is a plant that leaves you both a stalk of sweet edible flower buds and a fresh generation of seedlings. Grow it in a big pot at least 12 inches deep. Pick a dwarf variety so it does not tip over, and give it full sun. Just know that unlike the others, kale reseeds on a 2-year clock, not one. Now let us get to a plant that reseeds so eagerly it practically becomes furniture. Number 5 is orach, sometimes called mountain spinach, and this is one of those old crops your great-grandmother probably grew without thinking twice. Orach gives you spinach-style leaves, often in a gorgeous deep red, and it thrives in a pot even better than real spinach because it does not bolt quite as fast. Grow it in a container at least a foot deep, sow a few seeds, thin to the strongest 1 or 2, and harvest the tender leaves for salads and cooking. Here is the honest catch with container orach: cramped roots in a hot pot will push it to bolt faster, so harvest early and often. When you finally let one plant go, it shoots up tall and rains seed everywhere. And orach means it, dropping so much seed you will be pulling volunteers next spring like weeds, in the best way. Those volunteers are food, so eat the thinnings instead of tossing them. Plant it once, and red orach becomes a fixture in your pots. That reliability carries right into its close relative. Number 6 is amaranth, and amaranth is a 2-for-1 crop that reseeds like nobody's business. The young leaves cook up like spinach, and the tiny seeds are an actual grain you can pop like popcorn. In a container you will get more leaves than grain, and that is fine because leaf amaranth is where the flavor is. Grow it in a decent-sized pot. Start harvesting outer leaves when the plant is 6 to 8 inches tall, and leave the center to keep growing. If you let one plant run its full life, it grows tall and forms a big dramatic seed head loaded with hundreds of tiny seeds. Those seeds scatter, and amaranth is famous for showering the soil with volunteers, especially wherever you disturb it. Come spring you can weed out the extras and cook them as greens, so even the thinning gives you dinner. One plant and you have salad, grain, and a whole crop of free seedlings. Speaking of plants that come back with attitude, let us talk heat. Number 7 is mustard greens, and mustard brings the spice in the leaf and in the reseeding. Grow it in a pot at least 12 inches wide and deep, filled with good potting mix, and harvest those zippy leaves young for salads and stir-fries. Mustard is a cool weather crop, so when summer heat hits it bolts and the leaves turn bitingly hot. That is your signal. Let the plant flower, and it sets slender little pods packed with tiny round seeds. Here is the one thing you have to watch. Those pods are what gardeners call shattering pods, meaning if they get overripe, they burst and fling seed everywhere on their own. So if you want to control where mustard grows next year, collect a few dry pods before they pop. If you just want free volunteers, let them burst right into the pot, and you will have spicy greens coming up next season without lifting a finger. That leads us to a milder, frillier green from the same family. If you are enjoying this, do me a quick favor and hit subscribe because I put out plant-ons, grow forever ideas like this every single week. Now, let us keep going. Number 8 is Mizuna, those feathery, serrated Japanese greens that make any salad look fancy. Mizuna is fantastic in containers because it stays small, needing only a pot around 6 inches deep, and one plant can throw out as many as 200 slender stems. It is also slower to bolt than most greens, which means a longer harvest for you. But when hot, dry weather finally pushes it over the edge, it sends up long stalks tipped with little yellow flowers that smell like mustard and honey. Let those flowers set pods, let the pods dry, and Mizuna will drop viable seed right back into your container. Next season you get volunteers that you can thin and eat as baby greens. So you plant it once, enjoy a long run of mild ruffled leaves, and then let one plant finish up and hand you the next batch for free. Now here is a plant that reseeds so generously it might become your favorite accident. Number 9 is borage, and borage is a bit of a wild card on this list because most folks grow it for the flowers, not the greens, but every part of it earns its spot. Those bright blue star-shaped flowers taste like cucumber and look stunning on a salad or a summer drink, and the young leaves are edible too with that same cool cucumber flavor. Borage is not the tidiest container plant, so give it a big pot, at least 10 inches deep and wide, and let it sprawl. Here is why it is worth the space. Borage is a prolific self-seeder, dropping so many black seeds that you will get volunteers for 2 years after a single planting. Even better, honeybees and bumblebees swarm it. And if you grow tomatoes, strawberries, or beans nearby, that constant bee traffic bumps up your pollination on those crops too. If borage volunteers pop up somewhere you do not want them, they pull out easily. Plant it once, feed the bees, garnish your plate, and let it reseed itself for years. Now back to leafy salad staples with the one everybody already grows. Number 10 is leaf lettuce, and yes, the same lettuce you have watched bolt in a heat wave will happily reseed itself if you let it. Lettuce is about the easiest thing to grow in a container, and leaf types especially do great in shallow pots and grow tubs. You cut the outer leaves for salad all spring, but once the days lengthen and the heat climbs, the plant stops making salad and shoots up a stalk. It flowers, and then it forms fluffy white seed heads that look exactly like tiny dandelions, complete with little parachutes. Leave one plant to finish, and those parachutes carry seed down into the pot and around it. In the right spot, you will find lettuce seedlings, volunteering the next cool season. One tip worth remembering: if you have two different lettuce varieties bolting side by side, keep just one for seed so they do not cross. Otherwise, let it go to fluff and enjoy free lettuce next year. That leaves one last plant, and it is the sneakiest of the bunch. Number 11 is radish, but not the way you are picturing it. Normally, you yank a radish out of the ground for its root before it ever thinks about flowering. For this trick, you do the opposite. You let it bolt on purpose and grow it for its seed pods instead. There is even a variety made exactly for this, the rat-tail radish, grown only for its long, crisp, peppery pods that you eat raw in salads, toss in a stir-fry, or pickle. Grow it in a pot at least 12 inches deep in full sun, keep it watered, and let it flower. Clouds of white and pink blooms show up, the pollinators love them, and then those flowers turn into pods. Eat some pods young and tender while they snap like a green bean, but leave a batch on the plant to dry, and radish will happily self-sow for next season. So instead of racing to harvest a root before it bolts, you flip the whole thing around and let bolting give you a fresh crop of pods and next year's plants at the same time. So there they are, all 11, and notice the one thread running through every single one. You let the plant do the thing it was always trying to do, which is make seed and drop it. Arugula, cilantro, dill, mustard, and mizuna reseed on a 1-year cycle you can count on. Amaranth and orach, flood the pot with volunteers you can eat as thinnings. Borage feeds your bees while it reseeds. Lettuce and radish turn their bolting, the thing we usually curse, into free crops. And kale plays the long 2-year game and rewards your patience with sweet flower buds and fresh seedlings. Plant any of these once, let one plant finish its life instead of eating it, and you break the cycle of walking into that garden center every spring with your wallet open. The first year takes a little faith, letting a plant flower when your instinct says harvest. But once that seed drops and the volunteers come up on their own, you will never look at a seed packet the same way again. If you found this helpful, you will find plenty more grow-onts, save forever ideas like it right here on the channel. Now go let something bolt on purpose.